Hello, my name is Dr. Pa Kumaraswamy and I'm the Program Director for the BA Spanish. And in this screencast, I'm going to tell you about our BA program, Joint Honours and Single Honours, tell you about who we are, the kinds of areas that we teach and our areas of research. So I hope you find it useful and I hope you find it interesting. You may know that Spanish is a relatively new subject at Reading. So at the moment, we have two concurrent cohorts. Our first cohort, who are now in their second year, started in September 2015, and there were 26 of them. Our second cohort, that started in September 2016, there were 65, so you can see that we're a subject that's growing very healthily. You can also see from the screencast that we are building on our portfolio of courses and modules and entry levels every year. So we started with just post A-level entry point for language, but from September 2016 we've also been offering a beginner's Spanish entry point, and from September 2017 we're going to have a single honours programme as well as an intermediate Spanish entry point. So there are plenty of different ways to access our range of programmes. We've been busy. Even before the students came for the first time in September 2015, we've been setting up all kinds of things to make sure that it's a successful programme. Some of the things we've been doing are setting up partnerships with universities in Spain and Latin America for that all-important year abroad. And we're also setting up work placement opportunities using our ex-alumni at the University of Reading and other organisations so that students have a choice of options for their year abroad. You'll want to know who we are. So currently there are 5 of us. Myself, I'm an associate professor in Latin American Cultural Studies and I work on Cuban culture. Dr. Marta Simón Comas, who's a lecturer in Spanish, that's Peninsular culture. Raúl Marchena Magadan, who's one of our language teaching fellows. He's Cuban, so he teaches Latin American Spanish. Dr. Katrina McAllister, who's our lecturer in Latin American Cultural Studies with a specialism in Argentina. And Ivan Ortega Galeano, who's our other language teaching fellow, and he's from Madrid, so he teaches Peninsular Spanish in terms of language teaching. There are, however, as you can see, more posts to come. So if you start with us from September 2017 or onwards, there will be 2 more posts in Spanish, and we're delighted about that. A further lecturer and another teaching fellow. So as you can see, not just the student body, but also the staff body are growing in a very healthy way. So here's an image of where it all started. On the left, you can see a picture of the Vice-Chancellor, Sir David Bell, at the back, meeting with our first cohort of students. And we have been treating them very well because they are very special people. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But here's our first group of students, or at least some of them, at the front with our head of department and the 3 of us that initially started with the Spanish program. And on the right, we take a lot of selfies in our Spanish section. So here's all of us in our department, being happy, working together, and certainly looking very happy about it. Very much in line with the ethos of the department and indeed with the school and the university, all of our teaching is underpinned by excellence in research and scholarship. And that's the same whether we are academics who are researching and publishing or language teaching fellows who teach with a good level of expertise in terms of latest trends in language teaching. So let me just run you through what our areas are. For myself, I work on Cuban culture and identity from 1959. I'm very lucky that takes me to Cuba a couple of times a year to do field work. My colleague Marta works on contemporary Spanish culture and specifically literature, and has also expertise in terms of Spanish publishing, the publishing industry. We have a colleague in English literature who's always delighted to contribute to our provision in Spanish, Dr. Mark Hutchings. He works on the era of drama in Shakespearean England, but he also has a level of expertise in terms of the similar period in Spanish literature, which was known as the Golden Age, and so he offers a few classes in our modules on that area. And my other colleague, Katrina McAllister, who works on Argentinian culture, some very contemporary cultural forms as well. And finally, a colleague in politics, because we understand that undergraduates come with all kinds of interests and would like to continue some of those interests. And of course, if you're doing a joint honours programme with a subject that falls outside what we call literary studies or cultural studies, you might want to take modules outside those areas. So our colleague Tom Long in politics offers a second year module on Latin American politics. It's really important for us to offer a breadth of modules for our undergraduates, and also, of course, to reflect the diversity of the Spanish world by focusing not just on Spain, but also the many cultures and societies of Latin America. So for example, and I'll take you through very briefly year by year the kinds of courses that we offer, the kinds of modules that we offer. In the first year, and throughout your degree, the one core module or the continuous element in your degree is the language module. And depending on what your entry level is, you can start with advanced Spanish language or beginner Spanish language, or as you already heard, with intermediate Spanish language. And your entry level really determines the number of hours of content delivery and practice that you have. Whatever your entry level, you will be developing all the core skills in language learning at the same time. That's reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And of course, we encourage you to use any other resources, friends, websites, YouTube, all kinds of resources in order to develop that learning further. Alongside the language module that takes you throughout your degree course, we have what we call content modules. And at first year, in Spanish, there are two of these. The first of them is Icons of Spain and Latin America, which is a very ambitious module, and you might get a clue about it from the image at the top of the slide, which is, of course, Christopher Columbus, one depiction of Christopher Columbus arriving in the Americas. So it's an ambitious module in the sense that it covers historically the period from conquest in 1492 with Columbus to the present. So we come right up to date and look at globalization in Spain and Latin America. So we cover from 1492 to 1898, that's the duration of the Spanish Empire in the autumn term, and from 1910, which is the Mexican Revolution that really put the seal on independence in Latin America, to the present in the spring term. All of our content courses are lecture and seminar based, which normally means that in every class that you take, every module that you take, you have plenty of opportunities in the seminar element to work in small groups, to work individually, to get to know texts, and to work closely with your classmates and others in order to develop your own ideas, not just take them from the lectures. And it's a module that looks very broadly at identity in Spain and Latin America, at political change throughout that very long period, and some of the social factors and cultural factors that have affected Spain and Latin America from 1492 to the present. Our second content module at first year is Introduction to Spanish and Latin American Culture, and it's probably more suited to students who are interested in literary studies and cultural studies. So it looks at some of the major themes in Spanish and Latin American societies and cultures, and develops some of the key terms and some of the key concepts that will help you with further study. In all of our content courses, and of course in our language modules as well, we aim to bring language and culture to life, not just as something that you read from books, but as a living and lived experience. So whenever we can, we invite guest speakers, we do excursions to London and other places to see exhibitions, etc. We offer film screenings of important films from Spain and Latin America, and sometimes we even do Skype interviews with authors and other cultural figures. Alongside the content modules that are specific to Spanish, the department also offers department-wide modules which are open to students within our department. In the first year, these include Greats of European Cinema and Introduction to Linguistics. So you can see that there's a good choice and a very varied choice for students in their first year. In year two, obviously, our level of complexity and the level of sophistication with which we look at both language and content increases. So whatever your starting level in terms of Spanish language in first year, you will continue that. In other words, you'll continue with advanced if you came with an A level. If you came with beginners, you're going to post-beginners. And again, the aim is to get everybody to the same level required to be able to not just survive on your year abroad in a Spanish-speaking country, but to thrive in that environment. So alongside our language modules that again cover all the core skills, we offer a range of second-year modules. At the moment, these are my module on Culture and Revolution in Modern Latin America. You can see some images to the right that represent that. Spanish Contemporary Narrative and Film, offered by Marta, and Transatlantic Exchanges, which looks at the links and the movement of commodities and ideas between Spain and Latin America in the 19th century. We'll also be offering, when our new member of staff is in place, a module on literature and society in the 20th century, and that's generally in terms of Hispanic literature, Spain and Latin America. And again, as you can see, there are department-wide modules that you can choose from. Now, probably the bit that you're most interested to find out about, year three, your year abroad. Unlike some universities, we really value the year abroad, and we think it's a compulsory and absolutely essential part of your degree program. Depending on your program, you may be doing joint honours with another language, or you may be doing joint honours with another subject which isn't a language, or you could be a single honours student. You'll undertake either one semester or a whole year in one or more Spanish-speaking countries. And the choice for students on their year abroad, this is a choice that's shared by all universities across the sector in the UK, is one of three. A combination of a study placement, that means studying at a university in Spain or Latin America, and I'll tell you about our locations for those in a second. A British Council English Language Assistantship, which is very favoured. It's a paid placement and very, very important in terms of not just developing skills if you feel that you have a vocation as a teacher, but also a really unique opportunity to feel part of a structure in a given country. And again, those are available in Spain and some countries in Latin America. And finally, a work placement, which is either voluntary, that means not paid, or a paid work placement. We are developing a portfolio of some of the opportunities that come to us in terms of work placements, and we share them with our students. So whatever one of those choices appeals to you, and you can, if your program allows, do a combination of them, we will give you lots of guidance, and we really stress that this really is an integral part of your BA program. So, some of our locations. For study placements, we have partnerships with universities in Spain, in Alcalá de Henares, just outside Madrid, in the wonderful, very modern city of Bilbao, in Oviedo, Salamanca, a very ancient university, in Valladolid, in the capital, Madrid, the Autónoma, Universidad Autónoma, and in the south, for those of you who'd like a bit more sunshine, Sevilla. All of them wonderful locations and very reputable universities. The partnerships that have been developed with these universities are based on our experience of universities that have excellent Erasmus offices that look after our students and offer lots of guidance and excellent levels of teaching. In Latin America, at the moment, we have two placements. One with the University of Havana, La Universidad de La Habana. That's the image you can see with the stairs and the alma mater. And the image at the bottom with the volcano in the background, this is UDLAP, the University of the Americas in Cholula, Mexico, about 2 hours outside Mexico City. So as you can tell, really beautiful locations, very interesting countries to visit, and very rewarding experiences, not just academically, but personally and in every other way. And we are currently developing for this year, with our increased number of students, a new study partnership with the University of Buenos Aires in Argentina. So as you can see, some exciting locations for prospective applicants and their friends and family to think about for the future. Well, students come back from their year abroad. Most students don't want to come back from their year abroad, but of course you need to come back to complete your degree. And the level of sophistication is raised once again in year 4 in terms of language and in content modules. So at this level, we're expecting you to be able to manage not just context and facts, but also some quite sophisticated theoretical concepts, the ability to read academic articles and process them, etc., etc. But let's start with language, and this is the essential point. Whatever your starting level was in year 1, all language students are in the same group in year 4. And that's a reflection on the fact that if you have worked hard for your 2 first years at Reading, and if you've taken every opportunity on your year abroad, you can expect to graduate with near native speaker level in Spanish. So there's one group. Obviously, all of our language teaching takes part in small groups, and again, all the skills are covered in that language module. On top of that, we also have our content modules. My module will be about testimonial writing in modern Latin America. It's a kind of writing which is not really literature. It's a mixture of literature, ethnography, history, memoirs, etc. Marta will be teaching a module on publishers and writers in contemporary Spain, reflecting her research expertise. And Katrina will be offering a module on dictatorship, memory, literature and resistance in the Southern Cone. And of course, our new member of staff who starts in September will also be contributing in terms of a content module. As you can see, there are also department-wide modules that allow you to look at not just Spanish or Latin American cultural forms and linguistic issues, but to place them in the context of Europe or the world beyond. So, as our screencast comes to an end, I'd like to finish by stressing just how important Spanish is as a language for the future. This is the British Council report that was produced in 2014, but the evidence from subsequent years is exactly the same. Spanish is important not just for business, although that's of course very important for the future of our world and the planet, but also in terms of culture, in terms of education, all kinds of other things that the British Council recognises. And that's really because of the breadth and the diversity of the Spanish-speaking world, not just Spain, but many countries in Latin America. We don't yet have graduates in Spanish. We look forward to that day when our first cohort graduates. But from the evidence given by graduates in other modern languages, typical alumni career destinations are very varied. They include working in development issues or social policy, within government or the civil service, of course with the communication skills that students develop on a languages degree to work in marketing, communications, perhaps public relations, with the knowledge of culture and the arts to work in the media. Teaching is an obvious, by no means the only destination for our graduates, and if students have really got the bug for studying, of course, to carry on by taking an MA degree and perhaps even a PhD with a view to working in academia. But our ethos in the section and in the department beyond that is that learning languages and in learning Spanish is much more important than that. We think a languages degree and a degree including Spanish give you the opportunity to have a truly life-changing experience that will allow you to fulfill your potential from here beyond. And I'll finish with some images, not just of our team, which we like to call the Dream Team, but also our launch of Spanish back in 2014, with the Vice-Chancellor welcoming guests to the launch and myself also welcoming people. So we'd like to think that you'd join us at Reading. We look forward to seeing you at prospective Open Days. Muchas gracias.